I wasn't supposed to be there that night. It was just another long workday, and I'd stopped by the street near the Grand Hotel to grab some coffee before heading home. I wasn't dressed for anything special, shirt sleeves rolled up, tie loose, jacket slung over my shoulder. I didn't belong anywhere near the glittering lights spilling out of that hall, the polished cars parked along the curb, or the sounds of celebration drifting through the doors. But I was there. Which is probably why fate decided to throw her straight at me. The doors of the wedding hall burst open, and out came a girl in a flowing white gown. For a moment I thought I was seeing things. The sight was so surreal, like a scene from a movie. The bride didn't just walk out. She ran. Her veil flew behind her, her shoes clattered against the pavement, and her face, pale, terrified, flashed in the glow of the streetlights. Behind her, angry voices shouted. Men in black suits stormed out, scanning the street like hunting dogs. I froze, my coffee halfway to my lips, trying to make sense of it. Why would a bride run like that? And from the way those men chased, she wasn't just nervous. She was escaping. Then it happened. She saw me. Her eyes locked onto mine for the briefest second, and something inside me shifted. Those eyes weren't just scared, they were pleading. Begging. Before I knew it, she was running straight toward me. Please, she gasped, breathless, clutching her gown with trembling hands. Please, hide me. I blinked. Hide you. But before I could even finish the sentence, she grabbed the jacket hanging from my arm, lifted it, and pressed herself under it under me. Suddenly her arms were around my waist, her face buried in my chest. I froze solid. I could feel her shaking. Her breaths came fast and shallow, and her fingers clutched me like I was the only solid thing in her world. And then I heard them. Did you see a bride run this way? One of the guards barked. Their heavy footsteps came closer, echoing off the street. My heart hammered. I looked down at the stranger hiding in my arms. Her whole body trembled against me. One wrong move, and she was done for. I swallowed hard, then looked up at the man. Bride? I repeated, forcing my voice to sound calm. No. Haven't seen anyone. The guard narrowed his eyes at me. His gaze swept over my face, my clothes, even my slightly rumpled tie. For a second, I thought he saw through me. Thought he'd yank her out from under my jacket. But then he spat on the ground, muttered something under his breath, and signaled to the others. They ran down the street, their footsteps fading into the night. Silence fell. I exhaled a shaky breath, only then realizing how fast my heart was racing. Slowly, carefully, the girl lifted her head. That was the first time I saw her face clearly. Her eyes were wide, shimmering with tears that hadn't fallen yet. Her lips trembled as if she couldn't decide whether to thank me or collapse. Strands of dark hair had slipped loose from her veil, sticking to her cheeks. She was beautiful, yes, but in that moment, beauty wasn't what struck me, it was the raw fear, the vulnerability, and the desperate relief in her gaze. You're safe, I whispered, my voice softer than I intended. Her eyes met mine, and for a second, it felt like the whole world had gone quiet. No cars, no city noise, no footsteps. Just her and me, standing there under the streetlight, wrapped in my jacket. Thank you, she breathed, her voice breaking. You saved me. And that was when I knew whatever story this girl carried, whatever danger chased her, I was already part of it. Her fingers were still gripping my shirt like she thought I might disappear. For a long moment, neither of us moved. I could feel her heartbeat hammering against my chest, almost matching the rhythm of my own. Her veil had slipped halfway down, and the faint smell of roses clung to her hair. It was strange, she was clearly terrified, yet being this close to her felt right. I cleared my throat, breaking the silence. You can let go now. They're gone. Slowly, hesitantly, she released me. But she didn't step back. Instead, she looked up at me, eyes glossy, lips parted as if words were fighting to escape but couldn't quite form. Thank you, she whispered again. I nodded, forcing myself to look away before I lost myself in her gaze. You don't need to thank me. But maybe you should tell me why a bride in a wedding dress is running through the streets, chased by half an army of men in suits? Her expression shifted. Fear flickered again in her eyes. She glanced toward the street where the guards had gone, then back at me. I can't, she said quickly, her voice trembling. I can't explain. If I tell you, you'll be in danger too. Danger. The word hung heavy between us. I wanted to press her. I wanted to demand answers. But the way she wrapped her arms around herself, shivering despite the night's warmth, stopped me. She looked fragile, like glass that might shatter if I pushed too hard. All right, I said softly. You don't have to tell me. Not now. But you can't stay here. They'll come back. She bit her lip. Then, where do I go? The truth was, I didn't have a plan either. I wasn't the kind of man who usually got involved in other people's drama. My life was simple: work, eat, sleep, repeat. Safer that way. Cleaner. But looking at her standing there in that torn, dirt-stained gown, trembling like a child left out in the rain, I knew I couldn't just walk away. Come with me, I heard myself say. Her brows knit together. With you? Yes. I shrugged out of my jacket fully and draped it around her shoulders. It looked comically large on her, swallowing her delicate frame, but she pulled it tighter like it was the only shield she had left. Why would you help me? She asked, her voice low, cautious. I met her eyes again. Because you asked me to. And because you look like you really need it. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then, slowly, she nodded. We walked in silence. She stayed close to me, her steps quick and nervous, like she expected someone to leap out of the shadows at any moment. I led her through side streets, avoiding the main road where the guards might be searching. My tiny apartment wasn't far, but it felt like the longest walk of my life. Every sound made her flinch: a car engine starting, a dog barking, the faint rumble of a train in the distance. I wanted to reassure her, to reach for her hand, but I held back. She didn't know me. I didn't know her. And yet, I already felt responsible for her. Finally, we reached my building, a small, worn-down place with peeling paint and creaky stairs. Hardly the kind of safe haven a runaway bride might dream of. Still, when I opened the door to my apartment and let her step inside, I saw the way her shoulders relaxed just a little. It's not much, I said awkwardly, shutting the door behind us. But no one will find you here. She turned slowly, taking in the modest room, the old couch, the cluttered desk, the stack of books on the coffee table. For the first time, a faint smile tugged at her lips. It's perfect, she whispered. I handed her a glass of water, and she accepted it with trembling hands. She drank slowly, as if she hadn't had a sip in hours. Watching her, I realized how exhausted she looked. The adrenaline that had carried her this far was fading, leaving behind only fatigue. You should rest, I said gently. You can take the bed. I'll sleep on the couch. Her eyes widened. I can't take your bed. You've already done so much. Don't argue, I said firmly, but with a small smile. You're the one in a wedding dress, remember? You need it more than I do. For a moment, she looked like she might cry. Instead, she nodded, clutching my jacket tighter. That night, as I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Who was she? Why had she run? What kind of man was waiting for her inside that wedding hall she had fled from? I didn't know. But I knew one thing for certain: the look in her eyes when she begged me to hide her wasn't something I could ignore. She was more than a stranger now. She was a secret dropped into my life, a secret that might change everything. And though I didn't realize it yet, from the moment she ducked under my jacket, my life stopped belonging only to me. It now belonged to her too. I woke to the sound of soft movement. For a moment, I thought I dreamed everything: the chase, the terrified girl, the wedding dress crumpled under my jacket. But when I sat up, rubbing the sleep from my eyes, I saw her standing by the window. She had drawn my curtains halfway, letting the pale morning light spill into the room. My jacket still hung over her shoulders, dwarfing her delicate frame, but her veil was gone. Her dark hair tumbled freely down her back, and for the first time, I saw her without the disguise of a bride. She looked human. Vulnerable. A little broken. And yet, heartbreakingly beautiful. "You're awake," she said softly without turning around. Her voice was calm, but I could hear the exhaustion in it. "Couldn't really sleep much," I admitted, swinging my legs off the couch. "Too many questions running through my head." She flinched at that. For a second, I thought she might shut herself off again, retreat behind silence like she did last night. But then, almost as if she'd made a decision, she turned to face me. "You deserve the truth," she whispered. I sat still, waiting. She hugged my jacket closer, as if bracing herself against a storm. "My name is Lila. And yesterday was supposed to be my wedding day. Only it wasn't a wedding. It was a cage." Her words struck me like a punch. She walked slowly toward the couch, her bare feet silent against the floor. Her eyes never left mine. "The man I was supposed to marry. I didn't choose him. My family did. They said he would give us security, power, money. They said it didn't matter if I loved him. Love, they told me, was for children. Marriage was business." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "He's older than me. Much older. And cruel." She swallowed hard, her fingers twisting in the fabric of my jacket. "I've seen what he does to people who cross him. Servants, workers, even his own business partners. He doesn't forgive. He doesn't forget. And he doesn't believe in kindness." I felt anger rising inside me. The image of her trembling in the dark street, chased by men in suits, suddenly sharpened. It wasn't just fear of being caught, it was fear of being owned. "Did he hurt you?" I asked, my voice low. Her eyes shimmered, but she shook her head. "Not yet. But he would have. That's why I ran. If I stepped into that church and said those vows, my life would have ended. Maybe not my heartbeat, but everything else, my freedom, my dreams, my soul." Her voice broke on that last word, and she covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to sob. Without thinking, I moved closer. I didn't touch her, I wasn't sure she wanted that, but I sat beside her on the couch, close enough that she could feel I wasn't going anywhere. "You did the right thing," I said quietly. Her head snapped toward me, surprise flashing in her tear-filled eyes. "You really think so? Everyone else says I'm selfish. A disgrace. That I humiliated my family." "They're wrong," I said firmly. "You weren't selfish. You were brave." For the first time, a small, trembling smile curved her lips. It was faint, fragile, but it lit up her entire face. "I don't feel brave," she admitted. "Bravery doesn't mean you don't feel fear," I said. "It means you run anyway." Her smile deepened just a little, then faded as quickly as it came. She leaned back against the couch, staring at her hands. "I don't know what to do now. I don't have money. I don't have a plan. They'll come looking for me, him, his men, maybe even my family. I can't go back. But I can't go forward either. I'm stuck." Something twisted in my chest. She sounded so lost, so hopeless. "Then let me help you," I said before I could stop myself. Her eyes widened. "You don't even know me." I held her gaze. "Maybe not. But I know enough. I know you don't deserve to be hunted like an animal. I know you deserve more than to be forced into a loveless marriage. And I know that if I let you walk out that door alone, I'd regret it for the rest of my life." She stared at me, lips parted, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Finally, she whispered, "Why are you being so kind to me?" I hesitated, then told her the truth. "Because when you grabbed me last night, when you hid under my jacket, it felt like I was meant to protect you. Like for once in my life, I was exactly where I was supposed to be." Silence filled the room. Heavy, but not uncomfortable. Her eyes shimmered again, but this time, it wasn't just fear, it was something else. Something softer. something that made my heartbeat stumble. "Thank you," she whispered again, and this time, it sounded different. Deeper. I wanted to reach for her hand. I wanted to tell her that she wasn't alone anymore, not as long as I was here. But before I could, a loud knock thundered against the door. She froze. My heart lurched. "They found me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. And just like that, the fragile safety we'd built in my tiny apartment shattered. The knock came again. Harder. Louder. Lila's whole body tensed, and she pressed herself against the back of the couch as if trying to disappear into it. I could see her chest rising and falling in shallow, panicked breaths. "Stay here," I whispered. She shook her head frantically, gripping my sleeve. "Don't open it. Please. If it's them." Her eyes begged me not to. I squeezed her hand gently. "Trust me." She didn't want to let go, but finally, with trembling fingers, she released me. I moved to the door, my heartbeat loud in my ears. Whoever it was, I had to play this carefully. I cracked it open just enough to see. 2 men in suits stood in the hallway. Broad shoulders. Cold eyes. Their presence radiated authority and danger. "Good morning," one of them said smoothly, though his voice carried an edge that made my skin crawl. "We're looking for someone." A young woman. About this tall, dark hair, wearing a wedding dress. I forced a casual shrug. "Haven't seen anyone like that." The second man narrowed his eyes, scanning my face. "Strange. Witnesses saw her running down this street last night. Some say she ducked into this building." I laughed lightly, though my palms were sweating. "This building has 20 apartments. You'll have to be more specific." The first man leaned closer. His cologne was sharp, suffocating. "If you see her, you'll let us know. She doesn't belong out here. She's confused. Her fiancé is very worried." My jaw clenched. I wanted to spit the word fiancé back at him, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Sure," I said, nodding. "If I see her, I'll call." They stared at me for a few seconds longer, then turned and walked down the hall. I closed the door quickly, locking it, bolting it, and pressing my back against it. My heart hammered in my chest. When I turned, Lila was standing in the middle of the room, pale and shaking. "It was them, wasn't it?" "Yes," I admitted. "But I sent them away." Her hands flew to her face. She let out a shaky sob, muffling it against her palms. I crossed the room in 2 steps and gently pulled her hands down. "Hey! Look at me." Her tear-filled eyes lifted to mine. "They didn't find you. You're safe for now. But we need a plan." She nodded, swallowing hard. "I can't stay here. If they come back." "They won't find you here," I said firmly. "Not unless someone talks. And I won't." Her lips parted, trembling, as if she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. "Lila," I said softly, "you're not alone anymore." Something shifted in her expression, fear mixed with fragile hope. And for the first time since she entered my life, she let herself lean against me, resting her forehead on my chest. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her as tightly as I dared. She felt so small, so fragile, but in that moment, I silently promised myself something. I wouldn't let them take her back. Not now. Not ever. We spent the rest of the morning in silence, the kind that crackles with unspoken thoughts. Lila sat on the edge of the couch, my jacket still wrapped around her, staring at the floor. I sat across from her, trying to piece together a plan. Finally, she broke the silence. "You should let me go." I frowned. "What?" Her voice was quiet, but steady. "They'll come back. And if they find me here, you'll get hurt. I can't let that happen. I've already ruined one life, I won't ruin yours." "Ruined?" I said sharply. "You haven't ruined anything. You ran away to save yourself. That doesn't make you a burden." Her eyes filled with tears, but she shook her head. You don't understand. He's powerful. He has people everywhere. If you get caught helping me, he won't just hurt you. He'll destroy you. I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. Then let him try. Her lips parted, and she stared at me as if she couldn't believe what I'd said. Lila, I continued, my voice firm, you deserve freedom. You deserve a chance at happiness. And I won't let fear take that from you. If that means I stand against him, then I will. Her breath hitched. She looked away, blinking furiously, and whispered, Why? Why are you doing this for me? I hesitated, then spoke the truth. Because I care about you. More than I should after just one night. But I can't explain it any other way. When you ran to me, it felt like fate handed me a purpose I didn't know I was missing. Her hands trembled as she wiped her tears. Slowly, she lifted her gaze back to mine. Then what do we do? She whispered. I exhaled, finally able to voice the plan forming in my head. First, we get you new clothes. That dress will make you stand out anywhere. Second, we leave the city. At least for now. Somewhere he won't think to look right away. She bit her lip. Leave, with you? If you'll trust me. Her silence stretched for a long moment. I worried she might refuse. But then, she nodded. Okay. Relief washed over me. Good. Then we move tonight. It'll be safer under the cover of dark. For the first time since I'd met her, she almost smiled. It was faint, hesitant, but it was there. Thank you, she whispered. I shook my head. Don't thank me yet. Just promise me one thing. What? Don't run from me too. Her eyes softened, and she whispered, I won't. The wedding dress had to go. That was obvious. By evening, I gave Lila one of my hoodies and a pair of old sweatpants. They hung loose on her, almost comically oversized, but they hid her identity perfectly. When she looked in the mirror, she let out a nervous laugh. I don't even recognize myself, she whispered, tugging the hood over her hair. That's the point, I said, smiling. Now you're just my friend crashing at my place. Her eyes flicked to mine at the word friend. She didn't say anything, but the corner of her lips curled ever so slightly before she turned away. We waited until nightfall. Every sound outside, the hum of cars, the creak of pipes, footsteps in the hall, made her flinch. I kept reassuring her, though I was fighting my own nerves. Finally, I said, it's time. She swallowed hard. Where are we going? Bus station. From there, we'll figure out the next step. Big cities are where men like him have the most eyes. We'll disappear in the places no one looks. I grabbed my old backpack and stuffed it with whatever essentials I could, a few shirts, some food, water bottles, a roll of cash I'd been saving. Then, I held the door open. Stay close, I said. Lila took a deep breath, adjusted the hood, and nodded. We slipped out into the night like shadows. The streets were quiet, but every passing car made her grip my sleeve tighter. Twice, we ducked into alleyways to avoid groups of people. I could feel the weight of her fear pressing on me, but I didn't let it show. At a corner store, I stopped. Wait here. I'll grab something. Her eyes widened. Don't leave me. I hesitated, then softened. Okay. Come with me then. Inside, the cashier barely glanced at us as I grabbed a cheap duffel bag and some toiletries. But as we approached the counter, I noticed a newspaper on the stand. My stomach dropped. Her face was on the front page. Runaway bride shocks city, the headline screamed. I quickly turned the paper over before she could see, paid for the items, and ushered her out. But the image was burned into my mind. If her face was in the papers, this was bigger than just a runaway story. This was a scandal. And he would use it to hunt her even harder. I didn't tell her. Not yet. She had enough to carry. We kept moving. And though fear gnawed at my stomach, I couldn't help noticing something else. Every time she leaned on me, every time her hand brushed mine, a strange warmth spread through me. I wasn't just protecting her anymore. I was falling for her. The bus station was dim, buzzing with flickering fluorescent lights and crowded with weary travelers. The smell of coffee, exhaust, and cheap food hung in the air. I guided Lila to a corner bench. She kept her head down, hood pulled low. "Stay here. I'll get tickets." Her fingers caught my wrist. "Don't be long." I gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "Promise." At the ticket counter, I asked for 2 seats on the midnight bus out of the city. The clerk barely looked up as she printed them. My pulse finally began to settle until I heard the click of heavy shoes behind me. "Excuse me," a voice said. I turned slowly. One of the men from earlier stood there, his sharp eyes scanning the room. My blood went cold. I slid the tickets into my pocket casually, forcing my face to stay neutral. "Yeah?" He tilted his head. "Seen a young woman tonight? Dark hair, maybe traveling alone. She looks out of place." My heart thundered, but I forced a laugh. "Buddy, everyone here looks out of place. It's a bus station." He smirked faintly, studying me a second too long, then walked off to question someone else. I exhaled slowly, clutching the tickets. That was too close. When I returned to Lila, she immediately searched my face. "What happened?" "Nothing," I lied. "We're good. We've got tickets." But she didn't look convinced. She studied me for a moment, then whispered, "You're protecting me more than you're admitting." I shrugged, trying to brush it off. "That's what you do for someone who's under your jacket." For the first time all night, she smiled a real smile. It lit up her entire face, soft and fragile but beautiful. And in that moment, sitting in a grimy bus station with danger all around us, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just helping a stranger anymore. I was falling hopelessly, completely in love with her. The bus hissed as its doors opened, letting out a wave of warm, stale air. I motioned for Lila to step in first, shielding her with my body as we boarded. Her hood was still pulled low, and she kept her head down as if the ground itself might expose her. We slid into a pair of seats near the back. The hum of the engine drowned out most voices, but my heart still thudded loud in my ears. I kept watching the aisle, half expecting one of her pursuers to climb aboard. Lila leaned against the window, exhaling slowly. "Do you think we'll be safe?" I nodded, though I wasn't sure. "Safer than staying." Her eyes flicked to mine, searching for something more, some guarantee I couldn't give. All I could offer was the squeeze of my hand around hers. As the bus rumbled forward, I let my body relax for the first time in hours. Streetlights flickered past, painting stripes of orange across her face. She looked exhausted, but also peaceful. Then the bus jolted at a stop, and my stomach tightened. 2 men climbed aboard. One of them, the same sharp-eyed man from the station. I immediately shifted, pulling my jacket over Lila's lap, pretending to adjust. She froze, then slowly leaned into my side, her face hidden against my chest. To anyone watching, we looked like nothing more than a tired couple. The man scanned the seats as he walked past. My pulse hammered. When his gaze swept toward us, I tightened my arm around her and pressed my lips to her hair, whispering just loud enough for him to hear. "Sleep, love. I've got you." Her body stiffened at first. Then, almost like instinct, she melted into me, breathing shallowly as if truly asleep. The man lingered for a second too long. My jaw clenched. Finally, he looked away and sat several rows ahead. Only then did I realize I'd been holding my breath. The bus lurched forward again, and Lila slowly tilted her face upward. Her eyes locked with mine, wide and glimmering with unspoken emotion. "You kissed me," she whispered. I cleared my throat, my face burning. "Yeah, just part of the act." But the truth was, it hadn't felt like an act at all. Hours passed. Most passengers had drifted into sleep, the bus humming like a lullaby. Lila stayed close, her head on my shoulder. I should have been focused on watching for danger. Instead, all I could think about was the warmth of her body against mine. At some point, she spoke softly. "Why are you helping me?" I hesitated. "Because you needed it." "That's not the whole truth." Her voice was barely audible, but it pierced right through me. I turned slightly, meeting her eyes in the dim glow of the bus lights. "You're right. It's not." At first, I thought it was just the right thing to do. But now, I swallowed hard. "Now I don't want to imagine walking away from you." Her lips parted, surprise flickering across her face. Then her eyes softened. "You barely know me." "Maybe. But sometimes it doesn't take long to know what your heart wants." She stared at me, as if searching for cracks in my words. Instead, she only found her reflection in them. A single tear slipped down her cheek, and without thinking, I brushed it away with my thumb. "Don't cry," I whispered. "You're safe here." Her breath caught. Then she leaned in. Our lips met, not out of fear, not out of pretense, but because neither of us could resist it any longer. The kiss was soft, hesitant at first, but it carried the weight of everything we hadn't said. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine. "I don't deserve this," she murmured. I shook my head. "You deserve more than you've ever been given. And I'll prove it." She smiled faintly, her fingers lacing with mine. And right then, on a midnight bus to nowhere, I knew I was no longer just protecting a runaway bride. I was protecting the woman who might just be the love of my life. The bus slowed to a stop just as dawn broke. Pale light spilled through the windows, painting the world in soft gold. I nudged Lila gently. "We're here," I whispered. She stirred, blinking sleepily, then straightened up. For a moment, she looked like any other traveler, not a runaway bride with the world against her. But the illusion didn't last. As we stepped off the bus, I spotted him. The sharp-eyed man from before. He was waiting near the station entrance, his phone pressed to his ear. My stomach dropped. "They found us," I muttered. Lila's hand clutched mine, trembling. "What do we do?" I looked at her, really looked at her. This girl who had risked everything for freedom. This girl who had hidden under my jacket, trusted me with her life, and kissed me like I was her lifeline. "We run," I said. "Together." We darted into the crowd, weaving between people, luggage, and market stalls just opening for the morning rush. My heart pounded, but this time it wasn't just fear, it was determination. The man shouted behind us, his voice carrying. But the more he yelled, the tighter I held Lila's hand. We stumbled into a narrow alley, out of breath, leaning against the wall. "They won't stop," she said, tears threatening her eyes. "They'll never stop." I cupped her face, forcing her to look at me. "Then let them chase us. Because as long as I'm alive, they'll never catch you alone." Her lips trembled. "Why do you care so much? You don't even know if I'm worth it." "I don't need to know," I said firmly. "All I know is that the moment you hid under my jacket, my life stopped being just mine. It became ours." She broke then, not in fear, but in relief. She threw her arms around me, clinging as though I was her anchor in a storm. And in that moment, I realized something profound. I hadn't just saved a runaway bride. I had found the person who made me want to fight, to risk everything, to start over. Lila pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. Her voice shook, but her words were steady. "Then let's not run forever. Let's build something, together." The weight of her words hit me, and I nodded without hesitation. Together. The sun climbed higher, washing the alley in light. And as we stepped out hand in hand, leaving the shadows behind, I knew this wasn't an ending at all. It was the beginning of a love story neither of us had expected, but one we were ready to write. Thank you for watching this emotional love story on The Love Chapter by Ari. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more heart-touching stories. Tell us in the comments which country or place you are watching from. We'd love to know where our family of viewers is growing around the world.